சார் முடிச்ச வரை ஸ்டார்ட். Done, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Chandar sir from GKD8. First of all, thank you very much for joining the webinar during this pandemic time. We will start this webinar shortly. Meanwhile, let me take an opportunity to introduce our GKD8. GKD Institute for Technological Resources is a unit of GKD Charity Trust Coimbatore. It was established by late Cavalier Dr. B. Jayavardhana Velu, former chairman, Lakshmi Making Works Limited. For the first time in our country, GKD8 is tied up with Tata Institute of Social Sciences and Alagappa University for commenced university model degree level technological skill development programs in the domain of manufacturing, automation, and foundry technology. Moreover, GKD8 has FANUC India certified CNC and robot training center for training CNC and robot. Over 80,000 trainees from GKD8 have secured jobs in prestigious companies in India and abroad. At the end of the webinar, kindly I request all to give your valuable feedback and receive the participation certificate. I request our director, Dr. Balamurugan M, to give welcome address for this webinar. Welcome, sir.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Digitization in Automation for Atmanirbhar Bharat Self-Reliant India. The goal of doing this webinar is, no matter where our business is along with the industrial production chain, these days we find ourselves asking same central questions. What are the digital products that can give us a greater productivity, speed, and efficiency and know-how? To meet today's manufacturing challenges like globalization, individualization, time to market, and sustainability. Digitization has many phases and requires interdisciplinary cooperation not only within the organization but also with customers and our partners. Digitization is about creating a value for people. It is in value creation that business models are found and the journey to ecosystem begins. The future belongs to companies that they dare to reinvent their business models and collaborative in new ways. Therefore, going in digital must be an essential for our corporate strategy. Benefit of digitization: increase productivity of ourselves and our customers, more valued added services, source secure growth and expand our innovation leadership. In 2016, Presto has launched this digital program. By saying Make in India, we are not only inviting companies for cost-effective manufacturing, but also giving them an opportunity of a large market for their products. We have become a white-collar workforce and digitization became a necessity for our industry. The key takeaways from this webinar is management. From now onwards, focus on digital developments like smart products, cloud computing, data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and big data. I believe that by participating in this webinar, we are in the right place and right time. Together, let us accelerate the exchange of ideas, scaling up good practices. Now, without further delay, we'll turn the time over to our speaker. Our today's speaker is Mr. Ratish from Presto India, domain expert in smart manufacturing with IoT and Industry 4.0. Mr. Ratish has got 15 years experience in automation. I invite Mr. Ratish to deliver this webinar. Mr. Ratish, the floor is.
Yeah, thank you, Balamurugan sir. Good afternoon to all. I welcome everyone for this webinar on digitization and automation. I hope everyone is able to see my screen.
No, Ratish.
So you're able to see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, so good afternoon to one and all present here. I welcome you all to this webinar on digitization and automation. So in a continuation with the introduction what Mr. Balamurugan had given, I would like to emphasize on the point that in 2016, we at Festo initiated our first digital program. So in addition to that, in 2017, we have a new digital business unit, and our information management from then on was more focused towards digital developments in the fields of cloud computing, analytics, artificial intelligence, and big data along with machine learning. So I am your presenter for today for this session. I'm Ratish Kumar, Senior Application Engineer and Driver for Industry 4.0 and Digitalization at Festo. So coming down to the agenda for today's session. So as you can see, we have 4 segments in this presentation for today. The first segment would be a short introduction on Festo India Private Limited and what are the products and various business segments that we cater to. The second segment would be more focused towards digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation, and in the end, the total journey towards Industry 4.0. The third segment would be what are the smart products that would help us to achieve this journey throughout. So what are the smart products that we need to emphasize and we need to integrate into our existing systems that would help us in the long journey towards this Industry 4.0 and digital transformation. And the fourth segment, it would be more towards plug-and-play solutions, IO-Link concepts, motion terminals, and the future of Festo Bionics. So this is the various segments that we have for today's session. So let me take you to the first session of today's presentation.
Let me ask you a question. Are you ready? Ready to proceed. And faster. Where it's a partner that is close to you. where you are. With the expansion of manufacturing, we doubled our production capability in the last 2 years. This ensures high volumes and reliable delivery performance, even in volatile markets. Are you ready for the upcoming complexity of your customer demands? Team with the best technological solution and the most ever. With challenging price battles in the future. You.
Yeah, so that was a short introduction of our readiness towards the market on this digitalization and industry 4.0. So coming down to our portfolio at Festo. So as you can see, our more than 30,000 components and over 10,000 individualized customer solutions. So we cater to customers from all key industries with right products and excellent service. So we also have both factory as well as process automation products with us. And also we cater to industries in electric as well as pneumatic. So pneumatic automation being a core product, we have a lot of cylinders, valves, manifolds, pneumatic and servo pneumatic drivers. Appliances for compressed air treatments are available with us. Vacum technology, grippers, motors and controllers, sensors, and image processing systems. We also have a separate business unit for electric automation, which is fast becoming our one of main product groups. Here we have electrical portioning systems, motors and controllers, electric slides, mini slides, tooth belt axis, ball screw axis, and modular controllers like PLC, remote IOs, image processing systems, and we cater to different types of architecture and different types of modular field bus systems. Then coming down to our customer solutions, this is also becoming one of our main product groups. We have made more than around 10,000 made-to-measure solutions. These involve customer-specific valve terminals. We cater to control cabinets, building of control cabinets, building handling systems, modification of the existing standard components as per requirements of the customer, and also services. So these are the main 4 portfolios that we have at present in Festo. And along with that, we cater to various business segments, which you can see here. So as you can see, we cater to biotech and pharma, food and packaging, industry, technical education, and assembly, medical technology, laboratory automation, water technology, and chemicals. A large part of our growth comes from our automotive and food, but our new business is developing very, very dynamically. In the recent present, we have the electrical market, and the light assembly has gained pace. And along with that, we have life tech products with medical technology and lab automation. Not to mention, Festo Didactic with its qualification offer for Industry 4.0 always helps us in developing not only the products which cater, but also the people in the organization are being trained with help of our Didactic 4.0. So coming down, we can proudly say that Festo is now become a one-stop provider for factory automation. So these are the various linear developments that we have made. So initially it was catalog components. So initially we have singular components like cylinders, valves, and then we come down to catalog modules like valve terminals, which can be configured. Then we have individual modules like modules which can be integrated along with the PLC and it can be operated. Then we have control panels, control cabinet systems. Then we have high-speed handling systems, and then we have ready-to-install solutions. So when we talk about these control cabinets and high-speed handling systems and ready-to-install solutions, that are included in the control cabinets individually, and they also take into account specific industrial requirements such as those in the food and automotive industries. So whatever standards has to be followed for some particular industry, it will be catered accordingly once mentioned to our design department. Then the design is also influenced by local conditions such as weather and climate. And along with that, it is not only the Festo components that we would be using for these, we will also be integrating third-party components so that it is operationally tested and delivered ready to install directly, where you can plug and play the entire system. Where we always have the mix of electric and pneumatic technologies, and it offers a very flexible and excellent value for money. Moreover, we have the high-speed variants of these compact handling systems with full flexibility with load to dynamic response. So here you require much less space to move them, and these become very modular in adaptation to the application conditions. So as you see, we have become the one-stop provider for factory automation for all your needs. So saying all that, I move to the second segment, which is our core concept of this seminar today, which is the digitalization in automation. So first, to start off, any company needs its own digitalization strategy to move on towards the digital transformation and Industry 4.0. So here, I would like to mention three basic steps that need to be followed. The first would be digitization. So it is basically the process of changing analog to a digital format. Then would come your process of digitalization, where you use digital technologies to change a business model in order to provide a revenue. So digitalization is the use of technologies to change a business model and provide new revenue and value producing opportunities. So it is the key process to moving towards a digital business. Then comes digital transformation. So digital transformation, it drives the entire portfolio of your digital business into three different areas or three different segments. The first segments will focus on external focus, which is your customers. The second segment is your internal focus, which is your own operation. And the third segment would be the entire digital transformation, which involves digital businesses and digital business models. So what exactly is this digitalization strategy? So, well, to be subset specific, this digitalization strategy focuses only on technology and not culture. So digital strategy is something that is relevant to all the changes in the business models that needs to be taken so that the business needs to become digital. So here, setting down a strategy is the key component to any transformation process. So as you can see, any business transformation process will require a subset specific strategy so that it ensures that we follow the model so that we achieve the end objectives of the business. So that is what is this digitalization strategy. So to start off with this, first let us concentrate on what are the challenges at present. Why is this digital transformation required? Okay, at present, what we have is, we have found new ways at present to overcome all our difficulties. So the present challenge for the OEMs and end users are many. They have to keep their maintenance simple. They have to handle a high number of variants if a need arises. They have to reduce the energy consumptions. They have to look into machine breakdowns and system breakdowns. So what really is happening in the industry right now is mainly focused on these challenges of OEMs and end users. So in order to achieve this digital transformation, both OEMs and end customers have to invest in digitization to remain competitive. So as you can see, there were four industrial revolutions. But what was the main focus about the four industrial revolutions was increased productivity. So no matter whatever the development or advancement was, increased productivity became the main cause of concern in each industrial revolution. This Industry 4.0 also emphasizes on the same increased productivity, but at a different level and at a different technology at different optimized costs. So as I would say, we have found new ways to consume applications of software. So commonly we refer software to a service today. If you see, this is the same software that is delivering our mainstream food with the help of a business app. So customer focus should be the main part of our Industry 4.0 strategy. So having a strong customer focus is what is about streamlining our operations around the customer focused goals. So in that context, you can ask me if digitization is something that is going to outplace people. I would say no. Digitization is rather about growing the worker's skill. So, and we have to connect them to a digital value chain. So again, if you ask me that if factory workers may not think if Industry 4.0 is going to come into the shop floors, I would say no, because Industry 4.0 rather would engage their minds in more greater analytical thinking and critical thinking, because they would be able to deal with so much data, which will definitely improve their analytical and critical thinking. And that is what is required for the need of the hour. So first, we will have to set our foundations for the digital future by getting control of data. And how are we going to do that? What are the smart solutions that we are going to apply? Industry 3.0, the third industrial revolutions used only computers and robots to lead to greater production and automation. So here you can clearly see increased productivity is at most in the back of all our minds. While we have this centralized control, we have established value chains, production system and automation has been planned. But we automated the process using logical processors and information technology. So only with the help of a human, only with the input that a human gives, the various logical controllers could be able to operate and automate the process in Industry 3.0. So human interface was always there behind this process. What Industry 4.0 is going to do is it is going to collect data, and it is going to make use of the available data to eliminate most of the human thinking, and it enables in saving time. So I would like to cite an example. For example, in the olden days, for the CNC machine, we had to program it with the help of the input from a human controller. So the process was automated based on the human input and not by data. But in Industry 4.0 now, data would be everything. So the same CNC can be able to follow a set of programmed parameters. It can be able to learn things using artificial intelligence and machine learning, so that if it comes across a similar scenario, it can be able to put into place those algorithms, and it can take its own decision and go by a certain set of programs or parameters. So that is what Industry 4.0 is going to do in this present world. Along with that, advancements in machine learning, pattern matching, and big data analysis make it more accessible and easily configurable. So this capability is becoming very common in all the shop floors, and it also not only helps organizations in increasing their productivity, but it also helps them in saving costs at various levels and different parameters. So coming down to what is this digitization? So I am here to give you a broad definition of terms. So right now, these are some of the technologies that we use today in our day-to-day life. So as you can see from the business to consumer world, we use smartphones, e-commerce platforms, mobile businesses, social media platforms, and digital entertainment. When it comes to the business to business world, yes, again, we have connected vehicles, connected health, and connected cities. So in this transformation from Industry 4.0, we can see here that digitalization plays a major role in the integrated technology to deliver value to both businesses as well as customers. So it involves all the technologies like what you see here. It is mobile computing, smart and internet connecting, cloud computing, augmented reality, usability, and big data. So as you can see, these are the broad definition of terms that we will be using in our future slides, so that it enables us a smooth transformation from digitization to digitalization, and then from digitalization to digital transformation. So coming down to what are the strategic directions that we need to take so that we have a smooth digital transformation. So as you can see, our first step would be thinking in this direction of smart products. So what are these smart products? So we had products earlier. So smart products are those which are clearly identified physical objects with intelligent and communicating abilities. So as you can see, a product with intelligence, networking, and communicating ability is termed to be a smart product. So our first direction is thinking in the way of smart products. And through these smart products, we can be able to get smart services. Okay, what are these smart services? So getting generic here, these smart products related to automation will be able to cater to the following services. We can be able to assess the overall equipment effectiveness, the process enforcement, product quality, the energy monitoring, the manufacturing performance, and the production traceability. So these are some of the smart services which help in the next process of the business, which are combined offers. So these smart services are always there, but when they can be combined. So then once we have these combined offers, we have a first natural step for fact-based approach. So we collect more and more data, and this data allows complex businesses to develop a meaningful strategy and execute it towards the ground. Then comes our business models. So when we have combined offers, for example, if we have a combined offer of energy monitoring, product quality, and overall equipment effectiveness, yes, that can be turned into a business model which can generate an income or revenue towards the organization. So as you can see, a business model, it can be developed as an application, and that application can be sold as a separate platform. It can be upgraded, and those upgraded can also be licensed and costed. So as you see, these are the strategic directions that one has to take for the transformation from Industry 4.0. So coming down to the first step of the digitization. So as I mentioned in my previous slide, digitization is converting of analog to digital. So this would be our first step towards the transformation from Industry 3.0 to Industry 4.0. So as you can see, Industry 3.0 had products. Then we had field devices and control devices. Then we had stations, work centers, and enterprises. So the main challenge what we faced here was the field device getting interconnected to the control device. The product was isolated, the field device was isolated, and the control device was also isolated. Okay, now what we have to do for this interchange? So the same physical objects and equipments now are fitted with sensors, actuated and integrated intelligence. So what happens here? These become integrated systems. So once the integrated systems are then equipped with networking and technology systems like internet communication, machine-to-machine communication, wireless communication, and semantic description. So what happens here again is these integrated systems become cyber-physical systems. So once they are become cyber-physical systems, then we introduce the new connectivity of IP connectivity, which can be connected to the internet. So these cyber-physical systems now become smart products because they have the ability to communicate, network, as well as they have the ability to do their own functionality. So as you can see, the transformation from Industry 3.0 to Industry 4.0 is all about smart products. So as you can see in here, the smart products used here have the ability to interconnect, but whereas the ordinary products in 3.0, they're not able to interconnect and they had to follow a definite hierarchy. But here in smart, with the help of smart products and interconnectivity, it is a definite hierarchy that has to be configured by the user himself so that he can attain or reach whatever path he wants. So it is all about interconnectivity in the meaning of smart products. Then the use of smart products and interconnectivity is what intertwines to become a smart factory. So this smart factory then can be used to connect to the external world, and these become new business models and generating new revenue to the customers and organizations. So in order to do that, what exactly we need with the help of our digital infrastructure? So as you can see, the transformation takes place from products to smart products. So whenever there is a smart product, there is a connection and integration along with your IoT. So IoT is nothing but your Internet of Things. So here we have an IoT gateway and we have certain libraries that are required for the smart product to communicate to your IoT gateway. So what a brief description of what this IoT gateway is and what are the smart services will come up in my next slide. So what we basically are planning to do here is all the raw data that we get is transported to a IoT gateway with the help of libraries and protocols such as OPC UA. And once they are transmitted to the IoT gateway via this OPC UA, this IoT gateway uses an AMPQ telemetry communication to send it to a particular dashboard. So this dashboard can be user developed, and it can be developed using our software engineers within our organization. And with the help of dashboard, we can be able to collect vast amount of data, and it can be used for visualization as well as data storage. So once that is done, once we get all the data, then we move on to historic and aggregate data, which can be accessed globally. So right after the IoT gateway, we will have so much data coming inside our systems that we might need to move our platform to cloud. So that is where this IoT gateway helps us. So once that is done, all the data that has been acquired can be stored in the IoT gateway, can be stored in the cloud. And whenever as we have a definite set of defined data that can be retrieved whenever we require it, and it can be used for pattern matching or teaching of various pneumatic presses, pneumatic systems, or whatnot. And then comes your platform integration. So this is a separate platform or a separate software model that can be developed, and it can be directly connected to our own cloud that we have. So as you can see from measured value, that is what we are doing is we are only measuring the values that come from our cyber physical systems, and we are setting it to a definite path to an added value. So this is the journey. We need the following enablers. So these enablers become business models. As you can see, product keys, backend integration, install managements, the application world, license management systems, cloud infrastructure systems, and big data platforms. So all these enablers become new digital business revenue models. So these are different focus in the digital transformation journey. So as I said, the first focus would be digitization, which is converting your products to cyber-physical products. Your second process would be digitalization, that is converting the data that you get from the cyber-physical systems to your cloud through IoT gateway. And the third comes your digital transformation, where you focus on your customers, your internal customers, as well as these business models or enablers of Industry 4.0. So these are the strategic dimension and objectives of digitalization. As I told you, any business or any shop floor would be looking at these two levels very closely. The level on your y-axis would be your revenue, and the level on your x-axis would be your productivity. So I am already here in my partial digitalization, where I have to digitize my existing value chain. So what are the products that can be digitized in my existing value chain? That has to be clearly looked. Then comes my development of new business models. So what are the new business models that I can build with the help of the digitization that I have made with my partial digitalization? Once the partial digitalization process and the new business model process is strategically framed out, then we can go to a level of where disruption takes place, and that is where we really attain our digital business. So in this process, we have an external focus and internal focus. Our external focus would be towards our customers. So what is the benefit of this digital transformation to our customers? And our internal focus would be, what is this benefiting? How is this benefiting our internal employees and internal colleagues? So this disruption, what it creates here, along with digital business, is a digital customer journey along with a digital workplace. So as you can see, this is the phase transformation from digitization to digitalization, and these value-added services, along with focus of our customers and our internal employees together, take us through the journey of digital transformation. So as you can see here, mounting, reading, compressing, and transferring. This is our partial digitalization, which we saw in the previous slide. Then comes our new business model through transferring, saving, and analytics. So with the help of saving and analytics, we can be able to form a new business model that can be able to generate revenue. And through these analytics, we can be able to take actions and provide value-added services to our customers, which would also enable us in bringing more revenue to the organization. So how are we going to do this? Our objectives would be through pre-configured dashboards, trend analysis, early warnings, and automated error messages. These dashboards will help us to gain access towards all the data that is there. The trend analysis help us in predictive maintenance and predetermining failures, and automated error messages always provide us a caution towards what is happening in the entire machinery. So as you can see, what is the benefit? So digital transformation, as you see, it is more about people rather than it is about digital technology. As I said in the beginning, once we embrace this digitalization, what are the benefits that we get? It is a long-term investment in productivity and efficiency. So it secures us through growth and innovation leadership. So as you can see, we can embrace this digitalization with the current portfolio. With digital products and services, we can have new business models. We can have a digital customer journey. We can set up digital infrastructures. We can build our own value chains. So these are the various benefits that we get with the help of this digitalization in the industrial value. What is the benefit to our customers through this digital transformation? So here you have a digital journey which enables the customer to make contact through n number of platforms. We have point through ePlan or eClass. We can have a touch point through Google. We can have a touch point through the various social media platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn. He can also have product related data in YouTube. Then once this touch point is taking place, the customer can also be able to search. He can be able to select products. He can be able to size products. He can be able to configure products with the help of the website, with the internet platform. He can be able to have different tools that are available with the product that is associated with the product. So those tools will help them in searching catalog, in which they get all the 3D data and 2D data, so that it enables them to design and configure systems properly. Then when it comes to the purchase department, it is very useful for them when it is going to be a rebuy. So when they are going to buy a product that they have already bought in the past, all they have to do is they have only to give the part number of the product, and the costing along with delivery time would be intimated to the purchase department through online and digital software services. And coming down to commission and operating, yes, there are separate digital platforms available for this also, where your commissioning becomes a plug and play sort of thing, and it is easy to commission and operate all this with the help of these dashboards and projects. So coming down to business models, so this would be one of the business models that you can create with the help of the Digital 4.0 journey. So as you can see, you can have an app world, an application platform where you have your own products that arise out of the cyber-physical transformation that you have made. And there can be n number of apps and many types of apps that can be developed for catering to the needs of your customers as well as your internal customers. So it can be mobile apps that can be accessed through tablets, Android, iPhones. It can be cloud-based and web development apps for motion analysis and data analysis. It can be desktop apps for dimensioning, simulation, engineering. It can be PLC-based apps for smart process, smart configuration, condition monitoring, smart programming. It can also be firmware apps for plug and play, for force distance control, condition monitoring applications. So there are n number of opportunities that are available once we have this transformation from digitization to digitalization, and then in our journey towards digital transformation. So this is what digital transformation is all about. So as we already told you, digital transformation is not about the products, it is about the culture of the business organization. So as you see, it is mainly driven by forming a separate business unit like electric automation or IoT business unit. So what that business unit would do is it would develop IoT-enabled products, embedded softwares, the latest technologies that are involved in device data. What are the latest connectivity options that are available? What are the major software suites that have to be procured or developed in order to cater to our digital business or digital transformation business? Next comes your digital products and services. So what are the apps that we have already built? What are the capabilities of those apps? How are those new business models going to arrive? What are we going to do with those business models? How are we going to promote them? So that would become a new digital business. So the third thing would be digital infrastructure. So once we are ready for this digital transformation, we should be able to have a firm digital infrastructure. We should be ready for the cloud. So this would be hybrid and scalable. So these infrastructure processes vary from your IT strategy. So IT strategy is majorly about upgrading your IT systems and upgrading your information technology systems, whereas this digital strategy is totally different. Then comes your global marketing management, where what we have to decide is based on the customer focus, which apps or which digital products would be apt for which customers, what are the projects that can be given to customers for pilot projects and through these digital channels, and how to build up digital sales and productivity. So this overall it will be a company driven task. And what the various factors that I have mentioned here is all taking focus on customers. So these aspects are something that are customer driven. So it depends on customers. And digitalization, as I said, it has two main focuses. One is external focus towards your customers, and the second thing is internal focus towards your colleagues and employees. So coming down to the internal focus, what all digital transformation can give me in the industry. So your operations are interlinked. You have a predefined set of data so that you can be able to do more and more, increase more and more productivity and efficiency. Then you have the human resources. They can find new areas of network, new areas of or methods of arriving at networks. They can have so many impacts on the environment. Then we come to research. The research and development, yes, digitalization is a continuous improvement process. You have to be up to date with what are the various smart products that you can build, the various technologies, the various cloud computing devices or systems, or what are all the advancements in the field that is happening so far. And then comes to training. Yes. As I said, in order to drive the digital transformation, it is not enough that once we have a transformation from digitization to digitalization, it has to be an organizational change that has to take place. So that is only possible with the help of training, which improves the culture of the people also. So with this, I have a small application or a small suggestion where why an interconnecting network of things benefits everyone. So this is a scenario that we face in our day-to-day lives. We have the traffic signals which are presently there. So these traffic signals were mainly termed for one main reason, to prevent any accidents. So now, what if we bring an intelligent cyber-physical system to these traffic signals? We can achieve the following capabilities. As you can see, once this becomes a cyber-physical system, it acts according to data. So this data comes from various parts. So a person sitting inside his car can also be able to access that data that is coming from this cyber-physical system. So what we can do, we can foresee that there is more traffic in this particular signal. So if we have almost reached the signal, we can brake optimally. So that improves your energy efficiency. Then if we already know that there is so much of traffic in that signal and it would take more time, then your car can choose another route, which is adaptation. Then we can have a separate business model if that particular cyber-physical system can say that at this point of time, there will be no traffic always. So we can have our green corridor for traveling at that particular time through this signal. And last but not least, networking helps all the traffic lights to move in according to the traffic situation. For example, if there is no traffic, then the timers of the signals can be altered according to the situation of the traffic. So if there is more traffic, then the timers can be automatically adjusted so that there is a smooth flow of vehicles always. So this is one small area where we can find an application, but there are a number of applications like this. For example, we can use this in the AGVs of our shop floor, which have the same model. So all these becomes new business models as we start interconnecting. So now coming down to the third segment of our session today. So how are we going to integrate? So far we saw what are we going to integrate, what would happen if we integrate, and now we are going to see how we are going to do that. So yeah, let us come to smart solutions. So these smart solutions would be the key to fulfillment of digitalization. So as you can see here, we have IoT gateways, energy efficiency modules, motion terminals, and individually configurable products. So smart products, as you can see, they always have subsystems, and there will be a central monitoring with a cloud-based visualization. There are energy efficiency modules which helps in bringing down your carbon footprint. There are motion terminals that can enable app-controlled digitized pneumatics. Then there is the IoT gateway, which helps you in collecting all the data from these modules and sending it up to your cloud. So let us start off with our energy efficiency and digitally monitored technology. So as you can see here, compressed air is under control with the help of this energy efficiency module. So it is an intelligent combination of a service unit. A service unit is nothing but your filter regulator unit. So what we basically do here is we add intelligence and we integrate it along with the flow control, a pressure regulator, a pressure switching that is a valve, along with the pressure measurement device. So ultimately what happens is the normal filter regulator unit that you use in your shop floor becomes a cyber physical system by integrating all these additional components. Then after the addition of these components, that's happening. So if you see, it is more than a conventional service unit by now. So we are actually intervening the air supply, and we are measuring at the same time. Automatic monitoring is also taking place once the flow control and the pressure regulation happens. So here, it is not only the module that is suitable for energy efficient machines, but it can also be helpful for us to collect data and stay connected with a simple connection of sensors to the PLC. So how it can be made to work is something like one. So in normal production, you will have an energy required for the system, and you will there will be no production and it will go to standby mode. So once your system is off, or once your system is going to standby mode, there will be no pneumatic air that would be supplied to the system. So this is all triggered with the help of programs and PLC. So how it is happening? So we have a basic set point that is programmed into the PLC. So once your flow reaches the basic set point for an idle period of time, it begins to stop. And what happens is your energy saving mode is activated. So once that set point is reached, your energy saving mode is activated and your input supply to the system is cut. Drops, then you can say that there are system leakages, and leakage detection also takes place in this with the help of this module. So we have a set off point, we have an upper limit, we have a lower limit, and also we have a predetermined time that on which the system pressure has to shut off. So here your flow measurement is required, your pressure regulation is required, your pressure switching is required, and pressure measurement is required. So pressure switching is nothing but a valve. So what happens here? First, your system is started, the air flows through the entire service unit, your machine is under operation. Once your system is in off condition, the service unit automatically detects that there is no air that is required to the system. So after the predetermined time, it switches on a valve, and after switching on this valve, the entire air supply is cut. So then it moves to after a predetermined time, it moves to the energy saving mode. So once it comes to the energy saving mode, as you can see, the system air supply is cut, thereby enabling energy savings here. So during the moment of this, if there are abrupt pressure drops, then you can say that there are leakages here in this system. So all the data that is collected here is then fed to the controllers for cloud-based applications. Yes. So after collecting the data and feeding it into the cloud-based applications, what do we get? We get a new business model. So as you can see here, you can see we can take control of the total pressure supply, what is happening in the air consumption, how much is the total flow, what are the total air savings for that particular day, what is the actual pressure it is operating on. So there are n number of data and parameters that we can be able to see with the help of these digital dashboards. And also digital monitoring is also possible with the help of graphs or predetermined set point graphical items. Along with this, we can also be able to see the production that has happened yesterday, last week, last month, and what are all the major breakdowns that were happening. So these are various touch points that this digital dashboards can help us in the help of visualizing data and correcting our processes in order to bring down an energy efficiency. So this particular thing is not only for this service unit, it can also be used for servo motor controllers and dashboards. So as you can see, you can be able to see what is the link voltage in your servo motor controller, what is the torque in your motor shaft, what are the various statuses, what is the position of your electrical axis, where it is positioned, what is the current status of your controller. So all this can be monitored with the help of these digital dashboards. So such a service increases the energy efficiency, and it is a big step. There is always a say, if you cannot measure, then you cannot control. So this is also a transformation from measured value to an added value, where you measure something and you add value to your process, thereby increasing your efficiency and productivity. So it is not only through these types of modules that specialized modules that energy efficiency measures are taking place, but it is also through other means that you can bring about this energy efficiency. So in organizations, you have application engineering departments which help you in sizing machines and tools so that it helps in enabling your energy efficiency measures. So going digital makes system design and component layout easier. So you have hundreds of components that are going to work out optimally. So going digital will help them put them together and work out correctly. But in order to do that, we have to do an engineering and simulation just to find out the right solution, which will help us with few key data. So when selecting a product, if the right automation solution is found out, then it can be helpful for us for energy efficient engineering and configuring data for automation. So how do we do that? So on the side of products, we can be able to bring about energy efficiency in a vast different ways. The first thing would be to reduce friction. Thing would be to choose the right components with the help of, for example, if you have a motor with a holding brake for long standstills, then you can have to reduce weight. For example, if you're sizing your robots or Cartesian handling systems, the main thing would be what is the payload that you're going to operate with. So once your payload comes down, you will have an optimum selection of your products that can reduce weight, and it can enable you in energy efficiency measures. Then you can use air saving circuits. So your design can implement various air saving circuits, which also helps in energy efficiency measures. Then moving on to from products, moving on to systems, different components that work together. So once the products are sized optimally and with this energy efficiency measure, you can be able to transform that to your systems as well. So that will also helps in reducing your pressure levels, reducing leakages. It reduces your pressure losses. Then additionally, the various tasks that has to be taking place in machine building would be reducing your tube lengths, reducing your leakages. So this can be done with the help of maintenance, preventive maintenance, then switching off power whenever it is not required. So as we discussed in the earlier module, the energy saving FRL could be able to switch off your air supply whenever it is not required. So these are some of the energy efficiency measures that help us in this digital transformation. And what are the benefits? So as you can see, in the long term, if correct sizing is being made, for example, to move a mass of around 12 kgs with a stroke of 250 mm, if the correct sizing is made, what is the difference if we choose a 40 mm dia cylinder and a 32 mm dia cylinder? So if we choose the correct sizing with a 32 mm cylinder, we can save up to 34% in terms of energy savings. So as you can see, how are we going to achieve this energy savings in terms of valve terminals? So earlier we had the centralized installation and valve terminals, which were up to 60% efficient and channel cost reduced by 50%. So earlier we had an individual valve for individual cylinders. Then we came up with the concept of valve terminals where we had centralized installations. Now we come up with decentralized installation systems, wherein we reduce the cycle time up to 30% with very short tubing. The space has reduced to up to 70% and air consumption has reduced up to 50%. So what are these centralized and decentralized installation systems? So as you see, a centralized installation system is nothing but all your connections go directly to the centralized PLC or the centralized system. So it is one logical processor that is operating to control n number of cylinders. Then came your modular system, where we had a separate module which helped in controlling these valves and valve terminals, and that module was placed very close by these valves and valve terminals. Then comes our decentralized system, where we have individualized monitored valve terminals and logical control units. So as you can see, a logical control unit can be placed quite adjacent to your valve terminal in the decentralized system. So all this can be communicated to a centralized server unit, and that can in turn communicate to your PLC with the help of field bus systems. Then comes your hybrid systems, which is a combination of your modular and decentralized system. So in today's world, it is all capable with the help of decentralized and hybrid systems that we can be able to reduce our carbon footprint through these energy savings. So now what are all the data that we serve? What are all the data that is required for all these processes? So with the help of these products, we can be able to get parameter data, that is how the system is going to be set up and configured, what are the field buses it requires, what are the various connections it requires. Then we have diagnosis data, that is what is happening in the system. Is the system on or off? Is there any malfunctionality? Then we have smart data. So these are the conditions of your counter coils and actuators. So all this helps in determining if your valve is on or off. Then we have the process data, that is the inputs, outputs. So the PLC gives the correct status of your input and output, whether the input signal is on or off, whether there is an output signal going out from the PLC or not. Then we have asset data. So asset data is nothing but your total product. What is your product? So asset data has your product license. It has your product information, like what is the product, what is the part number of that product, what are the technical specification of the product. So these are various data that a particular cyber physical system or a particular module has that can be sent to the cloud in order for us to send it to the dashboard and monitor things properly. Then comes our IoT gateway. So as you can see, this IoT gateway, it automatically discovers the various devices that are connected to it over the motion terminals or the energy savings module or the handling systems. It communicates to this IoT gateway using the OPC UA. Once the data is collected to the IoT gateway, then it communicates to the Microsoft Azure. So this is a separate cloud platform that is available from Microsoft, and all your data can be serially collected and stored in this Microsoft Azure with the help of AMQP. This is a telemetry communication that is used. So once your data is collected and stored in your Microsoft Azure, then you can take it to your various cloud platforms like MindSphere, Festo Cloud, or various other cloud platforms where you have different cloud protocols also. So what the main thing that has to be considered here is the communication model, the OPC UA and the AMQP. And once that is done, the conditioning monitoring libraries help us to filter and aggregate the interesting data that is required to us and send it to the cloud. So here, the benefit that we have is reducing the data costs and the network traffic, which is optimized. Then comes the question to us, is Industry 4.0 and digital transformation only for the new machines or new products? Well, what these products can do is, with the help of retrofit, we have a gateway or a door opening to an entire new world of digital transformation. So what we can do is we can be able to retrofit our existing shop floor and machine tools, even irrespective of n number of machines. So it can be multiple halls or different sites. Energy monitoring can take place only with the help of your FRL system. So you can collect all the data, and it helps you in reducing your carbon footprints, not only for your new machines that you are building on your shop floor right now, but also for machines that were working in the past for more than 30 to 40 years. So all those machines can be retrofitted, and with these smart devices, and ordinary internet and Wi-Fi is possible with these smart devices, which help in the transformation of these machines into digitally transformed machines. And also your conventional assembly systems can also be retrofitted in the same way. So it is not very hard in the conversion of these machines that can be retrofitted, because existing field bus systems, existing controllers with PLCs, and hence it is only the field devices that make a difference, so that you can be able to retrofit existing shop floors at no additional costs. Now, coming down to one more product which combines the simplicity of pneumatics with advantages of electric automation. So this is a plug-and-work solution where you have ball screw systems and tooth belt axis that are internally that come internally with a combination of stepper motors. These are plug-and-work solutions where once you determine the stroke lengths and speed, it has an input module. It has a input module that can be programmed on the system itself. So once you input your stroke lengths and speeds, it can be able to operate on point-to-point basis as per your input. So without additional external servo drives and all the electronic components that are integrated into this drive. So this is a complete solution for simple movements between two mechanical and end positions. So it does the same functionality of your pneumatics, and it has no special expertise that is required for commissioning. It comes with a programmable HMI where you can be able to program your stroke length, your speed, and your communication, and it can also directly connect to your PLC. And with the help of the PLC also, you can be able to command and run this particular product. So it also has capabilities of digital input output and IO link. So through that, you can be able to get the advantages of pneumatic system with this electric automation. Then coming down to the various architectures that we have right now, particular place, and all the connections had to go there. But now, as you can see, it has a lot of capabilities. So depending on the module combinations, the PLC can be configured. It can be a purely remote IO system. It can be purely a control system, or it can be purely a remote IO system without any inputs or outputs. It can be only a PLC for motion control or running servo motors and controllers. So all this is possible in this present world. So coming down to our last segment, which is on IO-Link. So as you can see, which can have the capability to communicate wireless. And when it comes down to exchanging data without cables, the first preference would be IO-Link through WLAN. So with the help of IO-Link, we can send serial bidirectional data from field devices to your control unit. So as you can see here, we have the field devices, which is the valve terminals. And with the help of IO-Link modules, we can be able to communicate it to your PLC. And from there, you can be able to collect data through your cloud modules. So it can be used in all types of field devices nowadays, like sensors, actuators, and a number of mixed signals are also possible with the help of IO-Link. So what are the benefits of IO-Link? As you can see, your parameterization is made very simple. Your investment is safe because it is all these are standard products with plug and play capabilities. They have very less downtime, and they have higher productivity. Less downtime in the sense, for example, if a sensor is malfunctioning and if it has to be replaced, we have these IO-Link master modules which directly connect to the new device and parameterize itself within a matter of minutes, so that your downtime is very, very less, and it is very, very simple to install because the complicated wiring of the sensor actuator is not a major factor of hindrance here in these IO-Link systems, which is the pure benefit of less downtime and higher productivity. So coming down to the architecture, so as you can see here, these IO-Link devices are field devices. They connect to your IoT gateway directly, or they can be able to connect to your PLC, and then from the PLC can be connected to the IoT gateway. And then, so here you can see both the cross verticals of communication happening. So in the horizontal vertical, you can see the controller making a communication to the IoT gateway. And in the verticals, you can see your field devices communicating to your PLC, and your PLC communicating to your IoT gateway. So both cross verticals of communication is possible with the help of these type of modular systems. So then coming to our digitized pneumatics. So the first product that I would like to speak about here is the digitized pneumatic balancer. So in earlier days, we had the zero gravity balancers, which had no safety in the first case, and a very skilled operator was required to operate that particular balancer. Because whenever there were different loads, we needed to switch the pressure depending upon the load by the operator. So when there is a loading taking place, there would be more loads on the balancer, and when the unloading happens, the loads of the balancer are much reduced. And every time the operator had to switch the pressure depending upon the load. But now it is possible that we have made these smart balancers where varying loads are determined with the help of a proportional pressure regulator. So these balancers can move loads of up to 1000 kgs effortlessly with the touch of a finger. So what happens here is the controller automatically detects the weight, and the proportional pressure regulator sets the balancing force by itself. So once that happens, it takes into account the weight changes that are taking place in the suspended state. So these proportional pressure regulators help us in setting the balancing force automatically, and thereby eliminating the operator's efficiency and capability of operating this system. So as you can see, this then becomes a really flexible closed loop system, and the operator's work is only handling. So these components are suitable for all types of systems, including kinematic systems. So this is the advantage of which we get from a pneumatic balancer, which is digitized. So these cater to n number of applications, as you see here. So it can be used for handling of door panels, axles, tires, batteries, etc. Yeah, coming down to the next about on digitized pneumatics, we have this motion terminal, which can position freely over the entire working stroke. So this motion terminal is the first of its kind in the world, which has a valve terminal pneumatic system, which is digitized and which is controlled through directional motion controlled apps. Along various functionalities like direction control, proportional direction control, soft stop, proportional pressure regulation, ecosystem, eco drive, selectable pressure level, and leakage diagnostics. So it is one hardware that eliminates over 50 components, and for all those 50 components, it is this one single hardware that can be able to do the entire capabilities of those components. So as you can see, what are the advantages of digitized pneumatics? So digitized pneumatics, complex movements are possible with high functionality and condition monitoring abilities. So various positioning places can take place here with the help of digital pneumatics. But in standard pneumatics, it is easy to operate, but there are no overload protections or reliability and study. It all has to be designed in prior so that we achieve the functionality in standard pneumatics. But with the help of digitized pneumatics, even strengths of electrical automation and pneumatics can be combined, and it is capable of delivering very, very good results. Electric automation, on the other hand, has greater precision and complex movements with variable positioning profiles. It has low energy consumption and condition monitoring. So what are the motion apps that help in digitizing this pneumatic processes? So as you can see, the motion terminal has model-based apps that help in various functionalities. So for example, I would say the first would be a proportional pressure regulation, where we control the feed force of a particular system. So as you can see here, the feed force of the component is directly controlled with the help of this motion app, so that only with the help of tube length, tube diameter, and cylinder size, the motion app directly controls all the parameters, and it sets the cylinder to move in such a force that the required feed force is reached. Then we have the soft stop function. So generally for a soft stop application, in earlier conventional pneumatics, we used the shock absorbers. These shock absorbers were used for preventing damage to the end positions as well as smooth soft stop of the cylinders. But with the help of these motion controlled apps, this soft stop is directly achieved by removing the shock absorbers, and the motion control app directly takes care of this functionality. So this video demonstrates the following. Now we do not have any shock observers, and you can see the difference. Now we have a shock observer. So the vibration and flexibility of the system remains the same by removing the shock observer and connecting it to the valve terminal. As you can see here, it remains the same. In fact, it is more efficient than your shock observers. So this shortens your cycle time by 70% and also helps us in energy savings. So coming down to the third possibility of what couldn't be done in conventional pneumatics is positioning. So as you can see here, a pneumatic cylinder is freely positioned over the entire working stroke with limit values of speed and acceleration. This was never possible earlier, but it is very smooth, and it is with great efficiency and energy saving that this is happening only with the help of this motion terminal through the app. So coming down to one more product, which is a servo press. So as you can see, this is a servo press, which can be able to have n number of applications in the pressing sector. So it can be used for clamping, pressing, and n number of applications. So as you can see here, it is completely software controlled. So the various parameters like force control is realized with the help of closed loop system with the force sensor, and this additional has a function with pressing programs which can be parameterized. In addition, it can be connected to a dashboard with the help of a software. So this software can be able to deliver different types of graphs like your force time curve. So with which we can be able to see what are all the parameters that are happening, what is happening during the pressing, and this is one particular product that can be taken as a plug and play device. So because it comes as a ready-made modular assembly and system. Then coming down to the digital business models. So as you can see, this is a digital business model. So with the help of all the data that we have collected, we can have a maintenance tool that can be designed, and the main aspects of the tool should be targeting towards energy efficiency, predictive maintenance, and overall equipment effectiveness. So once you have all the data that is coming down from your smart products and solutions, it can be taken in the form of your raw data can be taken in the form of your IoT gateway to the cloud, and from the cloud you can be able to make these applications where your shop floor control becomes much easier for optimization and energy savings. So as you can see, these are the three major factors that we emphasize in this tool: overall equipment effectiveness, energy efficiency, and predictive maintenance. So how was maintenance in the past? We had a lot of printing to do in the terms of maintenance schedules. It was very time consuming. And it was mainly reactive maintenance. So whenever a component failed or something, we had to do the maintenance, and we had to schedule preventive maintenance on a weekly basis or monthly basis. But with the help of this SmartMen's tool, we can be able to do a lot on predictive maintenance, because this includes a logbook and incident management system. So with the help of the logbook, we can be able to see what were the operators allocated machines. With the help of incident management, we can be able to see if any incidents were reported due to maintenance. We can be able to schedule maintenance in pre-hand. Every shift did not need to have a shift timing or a shift meeting, because with the help of this app, the operators can be allocated their respective machines through the app itself. Any incident reporting can be done directly with the help of the app, so that all the supervisors are being alarmed at, and they can be able to come down and attend. And also it is a very time-saving process, so that we can eliminate most of the shift meetings, which are only required for allocation of machines for operators. And last but not least, these can be connected to your ERP systems and business system models. It can be connected to your SAP also. And from there, you can be able to take many derivatives and many data creative decisions. Coming down to the last slides on Bionics, this is a integrated a part of Festo, and it is a separate department, the Bionics and Future Concepts department at Festo, where we have important topics, functional topics like integration, miniaturization, flexible and adaptive systems, how to operate machines intuitively, and all these are represented with the help of bionic models. So as you see here, we take the natural model as an example, and the basic technical principle is taken from the natural model, and then a bionic adaptation is created. Once the bionic adaptation is created, then we develop industrial applications based on the bionic adaptation principle. So here, what is our main focus? It is energy efficiency and lightweight constructions, functional integration and miniaturization systems, human machine interactions. So all this is possible with the help of bionics. So as you can see, we are inspired by nature for the production of this future. So here you can see a energy efficiency in the form of a kangaroo. So the kangaroo transfers the energy from one jump to the next, and then it can increase its speed without consuming more energy. So energy can also be recovered. So that is what is the principle and inspiration that has been taken from this kangaroo. Then we have animals that use their resources very sparingly. So that is when energy efficiency comes into the picture. Then the animals also have a very, very lightweight design. For example, if we consider the butterflies, it has a very, very lightweight design. So a lightweight also helps us in saving the energy. Then we have a functional integration. Then communication and learning with the help of the ants. So these are our major inspirations through which our bionics department works. So this is a flex shape gripper. Yeah, and finally, coming down to an introduction of our Festo Didactic. So, not to mention, Festo Didactic is a world leader in providing equipment and solutions for technical education. So, on one side, Festo automation products improve the efficiency of your machines, but on the other side, Festo Didactic will be able to improve the efficiency of your people and organization through various training solutions. So we offer a wide range of training in systems of all fields. So we can be able to include hardware training, equipment, conducting practical trainings, training courses. Our various centers are located at Bangalore, Chennai, Pune, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, and Noida. And training can be offered in the topics covering fluid power, mechatronics, PLCs, electrical engineering, electronics engineering, renewable energies, and Industry 4.0 also. So as you can see, these courses are generic courses, and they are not involving any components of Festo or Festo related training programs. These are generic courses which also help the people in sizing Festo products and components in a different way. But when we offer different courses that cover pneumatics, hydraulics, PLCs, and mechatronics also. So now during this pandemic, if you see where online training is the major course of concern, yes, we do cover online trainings with the help of simulation softwares from Festo. So these simulation softwares help us in covering the tasks. So it brings us very close to these online trainings bring us very close to the real-time training with the help of these simulation softwares. So we can offer customized training courses also alongside in a close collaboration with GKD ITR. So that can be done with the help of our didactic people. Yeah, so thank you for providing us with this opportunity. And if at all you have any questions, you can be able to ask.
Good evening, Mr. Venkat from Lakshmi Life Sciences. So it
Good evening, sir.
was a good, wonderful presentation, and thanks for all the updates that you are giving. So especially the silicon cap which you have shown, the final course of the presentation was really very innovative, and we could correlate a lot of our applications which we can think of like taking it in the forward automations that we do. We have our group company plus who are already into automation. So we will try to implement a certain level of medical automations or something by using this technology. And so what is the minimum product that can be picked up by using this robot.
Right, sir.
Have very small surgical blades of around 2 by 4 millimeter. So we would like to know what is the minimum
Okay, sir. Okay.
industry part that we can pick and place for an assembly.
Sir, what we can do is, see, since you are saying it is a surgical blade,
Yes.
so these components come with prefabricated gripping thing, as you saw in the video. So it would be better if you can give us some components for trial, so we can be able to do that. And regarding the technical aspect, I can send you the flyer of this product. There you can find all the technical aspects of this product.
Yeah. We just want to pick it and place it in a CNC machine for grinding operation.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay.
Blade
Yeah.
So we will just like maybe offline we can connect discussing this.
Yes, sir. Definitely. You can connect us offline. We can be able to help you with that.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello. Sir, good afternoon, sir. Am I audible? Hello. Sir, which type of gateway you are using? And which software, sir, you are using? Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Hello. Sir,
Yes,
which
yes.
type of gateway you are using, sir? And which type of software you are using, sir, to send the data inside the gateway?
Sir, see, the software what we use is Festo automation suite. Okay. Then we have our Festo web server for doing all this. So there is a centralized platform software, the Festo automation suite. So in that, all the products of Festo can be configured. Okay, and it can be the PLC can also be programmed with the Codesys platform with the help of the Festo automation suite, and all the data from the Festo automation suite can be transferred to your web server.
Hello, sir. Sir, what is the storage of data? How much storage?
See, now when it comes to storage, we have to be very specific that we take all the data to the cloud. So in cloud, it is depending upon your storage, they would be charging you for those cloud services. So if it is for only one machine, or if you want 1 TB data or 100 TB data in cloud services, they have a separate price package for the data that you're going to store. So it is generally recommended for small amounts of data, very, very small amounts of data. We can be able to store it with our servers. But for huge amount of data, if you have to retrieve system data previous 1 year, 2 years, then it is recommended we move all the data to the cloud service.
Sir, which cloud you are using?
We have the Festo Cloud. The Festo Cloud is available as a shared service. So you can purchase your licenses for Festo Cloud from the Festo App World. Our Festo products are also capable of communicating to other cloud servers as well, like Siemens MindSphere.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Chandra sir.
Sir, a million sincere thanks to you for the sea of wisdom and knowledge you showered with us during your amazing lecture. You are too excellent. We would like to thank you, our managing trustee, Madam Dr. Lalita Devi Sanjay Jayavardhana Velu, and our director, Dr. Balamurugan M, for organizing this webinar. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. A recorded version of this webinar will be available in YouTube. We are expecting your valuable feedback at this end of this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot from Ashwin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ritesh. Thank you, Ashwin.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Kishore. Kishore.